and this is the most significant, and people don't realize this about the Genius Act, is that it allowed a tech crypto company to now have issuance of currency, which has always been reserved for a central bank. And this is taking power away from the central banks. Ooh. This is the whole significance of the Genius Act that people aren't seeing. It has been costing the United States just $830 billion, here or take, in interest on the national debt in the fiscal year 2022, right? That was, and it was projected it was going to be 1.013 trillion for 2025 in the fiscal year that we're currently in. That is 14% of total federal spending for the financial year in 2025.
It's just, you're living on Visa card, right? Yeah. Okay, you're just paying the minimum payment. That's what you're doing. You're just paying the interest payment. So you're never ever going to pay that principal. You're never ever going to knock off the debt.
Greater than the defense spending that happens annually, and that's what Trump has been pushing for. Is please, Jerome, you've got to reduce the interest rate. You've got to reduce the interest rate.
So who's Jerome working for?
Oh,
that's a loaded question right there.
You want to go down that rabbit, Warren? Do you?
You know, actually, I really wouldn't mind because we're all told there's all these countries that we all have this debt. Mm-hmm. Who do we owe?
Well, it's the banking cartel, really.
Yes, right? Exactly. I'm sorry, mate.
Let's go. All right, let's go down that rabbit, Warren. So, okay. I mean, apparently the chairman is nominated by the president of the time, which wasn't Trump.
Sure.
He put Powell in there. Okay. But, you know, actually, I better double fact check that. Who put Powell in?
Yeah, let's do that.
But what happens is who... Oh, there you go. President Donald Trump nominated Jerome Powell to serve a 4-year term.
Is that right?
In November 2017. I just thought I better check that.
Well, I'm glad you did. So, you know what, and I don't care how people will take this. If he put him in that position, to be frank, I think he's got the right to have a little bit of power over him. Okay? You know, that's how the world works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, if you're not performing, your boss fires you, right?
That's right.
So you can see the pressure on them. And this is an economy of the situation, because of course the Federal Reserve is an independent body. Mm-hmm. So how much say does the president have in how it's run when it's supposed to be run independently?
True.
And so this is the tension, and he just can't walk in and go, "You're fired," and do the old apprentice routine.
It'd be funny if he could, though.
This is the thing. There's more pressure now on the Federal Reserve right now as scrutiny has come out. Have you heard about what's been happening to Lisa Cook, the one who holds a seat on the board?
No.
Okay, so she has had allegations of mortgage fraud against her, where basically it's been alleged. So
it's not just Letitia James who's got a bit of mortgage deals going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been alleged.
It's been alleged
that she's been falsifying documents to obtain better loan terms. So it kind of comes down to the situation where they do this. They buy a house. Is this your primary place of residence?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, you get better lending if it is your primary place of residence.
Sure.
And if it's not, then a couple months later, buys another house. Is this your primary place of residence? Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Okay.
So who's doing this one?
Well, it's been alleged that Lisa Cook has done this as far as mortgage fraud is concerned.
I think we're all being harsh. She's clearly a gypsy. She likes to keep moving. It's fine. Just keeps moving with a cheaper interest rate, obviously.
So this has come under a lot of scrutiny, and there are calls for her to step down. This is all the while, you know, there's been the pressure on Jerome Powell. But I think if you put it in the broader spectrum of things, this is really interesting, the pressure that the Federal Reserve is under. And I bring it back to the Genius Act.
Okay.
The Genius Act was, for those who don't know, a legislation that went through Congress, was passed by the president, to put stable coins into the realm of basically finance, where it is legitimate, that digital dollars are legitimate, that they are legally recognized, you know, as a fair means of exchange or currency. The second thing that it did was it had to be backed by something. You just couldn't put this programming out there and not do anything with it. So that is significant from the point of view that in 1971, President Nixon depegged the dollar, the US dollar, from the gold standard. Now, it's kind of ironic because you can have a stable coin that represents the US dollar but you can hold treasury notes to that, which is kind of fiat and the whole creation of things. So it's not really pegged to gold per se, but it is pegged to
the dollar.
The dollar, which is unpegged from the gold standard. Okay.
Yeah. No, we need a diagram for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You follow me on that?
I am. Okay. Carry the 2. Yeah. Okay.
You need to lay down. I understand. Tell me about your mother. And so, but it says that if you bring out a stablecoin, it has to be backed by something. So if you bring out a gold backed stablecoin, it has to have the gold reserves.
Sure.
And so that is happening. There are massive gold reserves going on. But the third thing that it did, and this is the most significant, and people don't realize this about the Genius Act, is that it allowed a tech crypto company to now have issuance of currency, which has always been reserved for a central bank. And this is taking power away from the central banks. Ooh. This is the whole significance of the Genius Act that people aren't seeing. So you put that into perspective of what Congress has passed, what the Republicans have passed, what Trump has signed off on, okay, and wanting to be the crypto capital of the world, United States.
They certainly want that.
Plus the pressure that is on Jerome Powell.
Yep.
Not only about stepping down and lowering interest rates, but Trump put him on the front scene when he did that field trip that out to the Federal Reserve where they're wearing the hats,
that's
the hard hats.
The reason why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. Wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
So, and Trump being a builder sees right through and sees all the mistakes that have happened, what could have been done cheaper and all this sort of stuff. So why is this significant? He is putting the Federal Reserve front and center on the world stage. He's saying this is where your tax dollars have gone. See how they've been mismanaged. Look at this. This guy will not reduce our interest rates and help us make America great again. And he's been saying, listen, if you reduce them, it will help us with our interest rates and kick our economy. And Powell, according to Trump, has been saying, look, what if inflation goes up? And Trump's like, well, then you just increase the interest rates again. But until that time, drop it. And so I think where it really hurts the mum and dad, and this is the crunch, is that a lot of people who would, on a lower interest rate, qualify for owning a home can't or don't because the interest rates are so high.
Simple as that. Okay,
And
it's
that's
freezing a
what
lot
it's
of people
been.
out of the market.
Right. So this is the thing, and the pattern here, the thing that we're seeing here is the middle class being removed. I think the socialist agenda is to remove the middle class. Why? Because the middle class are too powerful.
Agreed.
Right. And this is, you see this pattern going on, not just in the United States. I see it also in the UK, in England. I've been seeing this in Australia, particularly. We put mass migration in, artificially inflate the housing market.
Sure.
Right. There's a shortage now. We don't have the hospital infrastructure,
No, we don't.
all that sort of thing. People are in emergency waiting lines forever. You might as well put take your sleeping bag because you're going to be there a while.
Waiting 3 years for an operation here, right here. 3 years.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So it's broken. And I think this is the big attack. And then when you see like a Labor government is introducing more and more taxes, again, it's another attack on unrealized capital gains and stuff like this. This is trying to get rid of the middle class who are trying to get ahead. Whereas the wealthy, the super wealthy, well, they're fine, and don't bag them out. The answer is not what the socialists want you to believe is let's just raise taxes, okay? Because there's implications for that if that's done.
Agreed.
Because then they'll just move abroad.
They
They'll
will.
say, see you later, we're not going to do business here anymore. And it also does not highlight the risks that an entrepreneur will take. I mean, they will risk the next family's generational wealth on the line to do a business deal.
Well, that's exactly right. And you know what? That risk needs to be rewarded. Okay?
Exactly.
Well, certainly the opportunity for it to be rewarded.
Because they are feeding families and employees and helping them, with their mortgages, and they're feeding their families, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we've got to just put the brakes on a minute and go, what is really going on here? And so this tussle between the Federal Reserve and Trump is highly significant. And now he's going, look, this Lisa Cook has allegedly done mortgage fraud. She needs to step down as well.
Of course, yes. Well, if this is alleged, as we say, but I mean, look, if this is has got any weight to it, and I'm sure it will, look, let's face it, wouldn't have got to this degree if it didn't. If it's got, then just the optics alone, she has to step down. You can't have somebody there who is openly doing something. Her name is, a bit like Roger Cook. He's got the silent R in there, Roger Crook, right? If you're playing the game and you're gaining from it, no, and letting the main society miss out, it's absolutely disgusting. Great points come up from Martini's Eco and Country Bites. Hello there. A great conversation, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Our Federal Reserve is a Gonski. Well, I tend to certainly agree with the sentiment. Treasury is next level return to gold, basically get back to the gold standard and blockchain. I think there's a lot of that going on. I think that I've been watching a little bit. Obviously, I've known about the old pulling the dollar off the gold standard for a very long time, but I've actually been watching a bit of it lately, some YouTube videos and a bit of information, sort of just popped myself up on it. And there was so much going on. It's just utterly corrupt, right? I can't see, to me, there is just no logical reason for doing it.
Look, the whole banking...
Apart from paying for a war... Right. I mean, if we look at 71, it's in the middle of the Vietnam War. Is it just money laundering? What's going on there?
Well, what used to happen? You go back to the Napoleonic era, right?
Okay.
Like it's been going on for a while.
I wasn't there.
It was a bit of cold times,
Okay.
right? Napoleon had his wars.
Yes.
And what the banking cartel, the Rothschilds, realized was that the quickest way to get rich was to actually lend to countries.
Sure.
Okay, not individuals.
Okay, makes sense.
And a nation would, go into extend the credit card to the max out the credit card, basically, when their borders were threatened, when they're about to go to war.
Okay.
So what would happen was one nation would go to the banking institutions, say, we need a loan to fight our war. And they say, okay, great. We will give you the loan on the guarantee that you will also look after the defeated foe's debts. Then the other nation would come to them and say, we need a loan for our war. Because if they get a loan, we need a loan. They're going to extend their militia and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
And again, they give the same conditions. Fine, we'll give you the money you want on the condition that you be a guarantor for the defeated foe's debts.
Okay.
So they had a win-win bet going either way.
Yeah.
Get their money back with interest, right? This has been going on for centuries, this kind of behavior. In fact, Napoleon did not want to go to war with a loan from the banks. And that's why you got the Mississippi Purchase in the United States, where the French sold that Mississippi to the United States. Okay. And that helped fund his war. So
didn't know that.
You look at these pieces of history and it's fascinating how it all plays out. What we're seeing now in terms of land purchases is really fascinating. Trump wants Greenland. And he's saying, look, there's only about 45,000 people there.
Yeah.
He's actually just come out and said that, in Denmark, it's questionable whether they actually own the land legally anyway. And if they do, they should hand it over because we need it for international security.
Of course we do.
Because of what's going through with the Russians and Chinas and all that sort of stuff.
So flippant about it, though. Just hand over the land. Okay, you don't need to use it. We'd rather use it. We can.
Now, it sounds brash on the surface, but historically, you look at this. Well, one of the best land purchases the United States made was Alaska from the Russians, right?
Yeah.
And look how that played out to help them in the Cold War.
What did they pay? A few cents an acre or something? It was ridiculous.
Oh, look,
whatever it was.
Whatever the value of money was back then, right? But, I mean, Trump is a real estate guy.
That's right.
So he's just looking at Greenland as being a big piece of real estate. Now, I'm not saying that's a green light to go ahead and do that. But you've got to think about, how does this person think? What is the mindset? What is the motivation behind?
Do you know what I love
saying
about
and the
Trump?
behavior?
He doesn't think like a politician.
No.
He thinks like a businessman. And how many times in history have we all been talking about this and said, geez, wouldn't it be great if somebody actually understood business was running the country rather than a politician?
Yeah.
They finally got what they asked for. And Americans ask for this a lot, let's be honest, right? Now they've got what they asked for. And now, well, certainly the media class, really, and obviously the Democrats, but who cares about the Democrats? They're irrelevant. I mean, they're much like Liberal is in Australia, right? Completely irrelevant now, right? It just help me on this one because
he's disrupting a system.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's disrupting a whole banking system by doing this.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who disrupts someone's cash flow will have opposition. They will rise up and say, hang on, what are you doing? I've seen this play out. I know a lawyer who won a legal case in Queensland against speeding fines.
Right.
Okay. Then tried the same thing in Western Australia. They were ready for him in Western Australia.
Gotcha.
They were out and he was surprised. I said, why are you so surprised? I said, you are threatening their cash flows. Mm-hmm. They are going to have something to say because if you find a loophole or something that hasn't been covered, they are threatened by that because of the money it brings into the state.
We are losing our sovereignty. We're losing what it is to be Australians. We're living in a cost of living crisis, and that term gets thrown around, but it's very, very real. As I say, look, a 2-bedroom place for $800 a week is ludicrous in this state.
The problem is we're diluting our values, and I think, and that's not being racist. That's just when you mix iron and clay together, you get a weaker product.
You do.
And that is what is going on. Now, why I mentioned that image up is very, very interesting. If you actually go to ancient times, biblical prophecy, Daniel has a vision of many empires across time.
Right.
One is gold, the head is gold, the chest, and that is silver.
Yep.
And on it goes through the kingdoms, the Babylonian Empire, the Persians and Medes, the Roman Empire. Okay. And the last one is the one where the feet are of iron and clay. Somebody suggested to me this last week, and I thought it was brilliant, is when you mix values together in forced immigration, you are forming a weaker society. You're mixing iron and clay together, and it cannot bond as well, making it more brittle for breaking.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, biblical, in fact. I mean, I look at it this way in many ways. I think, look, Australia is a far more interesting place because we are a mixed bag, as I say. Look, we've got, different cuisines from all around the world. We've got different cultures, all of that, which is has enriched the country. But it enriches the country if you join, and, I'll get trash for this, but, the Christian-based foundations that we have, okay? And you're enhancing society, you're not taking it over. And then currently we're in a situation where a lot of different cultures are coming over and they are taking over. Now that is the negative thing. So come and enhance it. As I say, I wouldn't exist without immigration. My old man, well, there you go. My old man is literally emigrated to Australia because of political persecution, because of color of skin, all of that. That's why I exist, right? So, obviously I'm going to be positive about immigration, but it's like anything. It's okay. It is moderation. You can't go to, we're always told to eat well, eat in moderation, look after yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, right now, basically we're just importing nothing but fast food. All right.
Well, 1.5 million in 2 years of immigrants in a population. What are we? 22 million?
Oh, I think it's more than that. Not sure.
What's concerning is if you change 10% of the population, you change the culture.
Yes, you do.
Right? Any dynamic.
Of course you do.
You look at that in the schoolroom, in a classroom. If a teacher has 10% of the classroom disrupting, he or she has lost the entire class. Completely. It's the same thing, dynamic happening in a general population. If you have greater than 10% of the population thinking a certain way, it will sway the rest of the population, disrupt it.
Well, that's a very uncomfortable fact. Very uncomfortable fact. Well, I'll close up the show and just tick. Is there anything you'd like to bring forward, my friend?
You know what? You're more powerful than you think you are. It sounds really, really negative. It really does. But look, the disruption can happen and God's got a way of doing it. Look what's happening in the United States with the old cartels are getting disrupted and they're not happy about it. No. And yes, someone had to put their life on the line. They did get shot for it.
Yep.
But, everything is coming according to plan. You are meant to live in freedom. You and I were meant to be free,
I
not
agree.
addicted to anything.
No.
And that's the beauty of what's going on, is we're getting into this place, a great revelation where people are far more aware of what is actually going on. And that's the exciting part. So we can get all negative and say, this is what's going on, this is going wrong. But when you're empowered with this information, and when you actually start to speak to your politicians about these issues, it's really interesting to see them get fearful and break out in a sweat. They're nervous about it.
I like watching them sweat.
That's where it needs to be. What's the old saying? That a government that fears its people is a healthy society, as opposed to people who fear their government. So guys, rise up, get educated, move forward on it, and ask questions.
2 points you've just said there, which are brilliant. So basic, but so true. Okay, get educated and ask questions. 2 fundamental things there.
Yeah.
I will add one more to it. Action. Yeah. Actually act. Don't just think it. Don't just share a few memes and things like that. That you get up and make a difference. Thank you very much for being part of the Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia.